Well, greetings, and grand rising, and great morning to you all. There's my beautiful Diane. Hey, baby, you are up awfully earthy. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to share this out if you don't mind. Now, this is a very serious lesson. Every morning, something beautiful that happens in my house. Well, me and beloved, we will actually either read the Bible together or we will talk about current events, Sonia, peace, baby. Or we will talk about current events or we will talk about the news or the stock market or we will read from the Torah or the Bible or whatever. So we always make it a point to spend those few waking moments together, and I call that building. And welcome to my YouTubers. I did not send out notifications to my mods, so I am going to send that out right now um, to my main moderators. But Stoic and Stoicism, that is actually what we talked about today. And so we were talking about good times and hard times and what makes the difference. You know, what do you do? What do you do when when you come upon hard times? Hold on. Well, he told me a story, and of course, I had to do my research on it because I had heard the name Stoic before. Most of us know that Stoic means brave, but I call it strength, courage, and wisdom. Right? It's something about you don't know your own strength. I think about that song from Whitney Houston. I didn't know my own strength. And she talked about what she went through. And through all the pain, she didn't know her own strength. And a lot of times, uh, my people, a lot of times you don't realize your true strength until something drastic happens or until you go through something that you never thought you could come out of. Let's get activated. Peace to you, my beautiful one. This is a beautiful promoter. Let's get activated. Please, whatever you do, if you see YouTube channels coming in, please go ahead and subscribe. Subscribe. And she has a beautiful platform. She actually promotes and interviews many celebrities, you guys. Again, her name is Let's Get Activated. So I tried to find just the right picture to introduce Stoicism. Now, when you think of Stoic, I know that you automatically think of male, right? But then I came across this beautiful picture and I said, wow. I said, our women have been so stoic throughout the centuries, haven't they? And I looked at the different women on here and I thought about the different time periods in which we lived. And a lot of times, we have been spoon fed that we were all slaves and so forth. But there are actual queens in the motherland and other places, such as we know that in England, um, their queen mother, she died recently. She transitioned. Actually lived in England for 4 years. That was during Princess Diana's time, and they venerated the queen and the royal family. They were walking gods, if you can think of it that way. I had never seen such dedication from a whole country of people to their monarchy. All right. But we know that during that monarchy, it was usually masculine, male. But then something happened and the queens took the throne. She lived and she reigned for, I think they said 70 years, if I'm not mistaken. Well, she reigned for quite some time. I think that was the longest reign of any king or queen. So I thought about her stoicism. I thought about everything that she had to go through, how I'm sure she was hated. I'm sure she was mocked and ridiculed for being a woman. I'm sure, because that still happens in our society now. No matter what you are into, your job, your profession, and so forth, you're going to go through things, especially our women. Let's Get Activated says the women on the far right resembles Aaliyah. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is so amazing. I think about Angela Davis, the second to the left. You know what I'm saying? So you can find quite a few similarities in this picture. I'd like to introduce you now, if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce you to who this is all about. Okay? And here is the picture. Let me show you. One second. I'm going to show you his picture, and then we're going to talk about who this is. His name was Zeno. Zeno, he was a philosopher, a Greek philosopher. Let me give you a little history. And like I said, this all came from just one word. We choose words in our home, and because words have power. And a lot of times, if he says a word and I need to research, or if I say a word, then he needs to research it. That is what we do in our home. So a little bit about who you just saw, Zeno of Citium. And Stoicism. Stoicism began as one of the major schools of philosophy within the Hellenistic period in the Mediterranean. For context, Hellenistic literally means one who uses Greek language. This period is marked to have started around the death of Alexander the Great, 323 BC. And some estimates suggest that it ended 146 BC, following the invasion of the Greek heartlands by Rome. Most people agree that this period officially ended in 31 BC. We talk about Hellenism as a period in time, but we also talk about the Hellenistic school of thought or the Hellenistic philosophies. This was the period when Greece gave rise to the first structures of democracy. And places like Athens, where Stoicism began, were bustling with new inventions and ideas. It was a cultural expansion unlike any other time in history. And we have to thank for much of our Western culture that we enjoy today. And so that brings us to Stoicism. Zeno of Citium was by all accounts the official founder of Stoic school of philosophy. The story goes that Zeno was a wealthy merchant who was shipwrecked while traveling in Athens with a load full of purple dye. Now, if you know about purple dye, you know that was very, very costly, very costly. If you could afford purple dye for your clothing, you're going to pay a pretty penny, and it had to be shipped to other countries. This was very expensive cargo as this dye was extracted painstakingly from sea snails. And it was seen as a symbol of luxury and royalty to use such a color. Have you noticed that purple is still the color of royalty? When you see a king or a queen wearing purple, or when you see your own people wearing the color purple, it does something to your subconscious. And I do believe this is why. So now Zeno is now stuck in Athens. What does he do? Well, the legend goes that Zeno did what any of us would have done. He traveled to the oracle of Delphi, that was a seer back in the day in that country, to receive guidance from the god Apollo. There, the oracle told him that he was to dye himself with the color purple, not the dead shellfish, but of dead men. Zeno interpreted that to mean that he would soon learn from the great thinkers of the past, and began at once to read about people like Socrates, which is very important to know that the Stoic philosophy is widely considered to be a derivative of the Socratic, the, Soc, the Socratic teachings, especially with this focus on virtue as the main good in life. And so the legend continues that Zeno was reading about Socrates and he asked a bookseller, "Can you tell me where I can find a man such as this?" And because Athens was a town full of thinkers and philosophers, the bookseller pointed out the window at a man called Crates of Thieves, a famous Cynic philosopher. And so Zeno went to study with Crates for a couple of decades before he started his own school of philosophy in around 3000 BC on the stairs of a painted porch in Athens called the Stoa Poikile. Thus, Stoicism was created, a philosophy was founded in the principle that a good life is one that is aimed first at virtue and is lived in alignment with nature. We really don't have many writings from the Greek Stoics. And it's not until Stoicism makes its way to Rome that we really start to get some great literature to sink our teeth into. It's important to note that between Greece and Rome, there were many notable philosophers who led the Stoic school and added to the teachings of Zeno. Some of these include Phleanius, the second head of the Stoic school, Chrysippus, the third head, and we also have Diogenes, I believe, of Babylon, who traveled to Rome in 155 BC with other philosophers and spread these Greek ideas to the Roman Empire. And so in Rome, it goes on to tell that others arose with the Stoicism teachings, such as Seneca. He was the first. Seneca the Younger, a Roman statesman, playwright, investor, and advisor to the Emperor Nero. Seneca was a confusing fellow because his writings, we see a man who was deeply interested in philosophy and a man who was trying to understand what was good and what was bad. But his history tells us a story of a man that was also entrenched in scandal, especially seeing as Nero was one of the most tyrannical emperors of Rome. Seneca had such a close association with. And then there was Musonius Rufus. He was the next of core Roman philosophers who can read from today. We don't have much information on him, but what we do have can give us an insight into a man who was very interested not only in deeper ideas of Stoicism, but also in the very practical day to day application of his philosophy. And now moving on, we come to Epictetus. Epictetus, that's his name, Epictetus, who was actually a student of Rufus. Epictetus started his life as a slave, and his name literally translates to gained or acquired. Later, he was freed by his master, who saw intellectual potential in him, and that's when he studied with Rufus. He is widely regarded to be one of the most important Stoic teachers. And what we have from him is a collection of discourses that were captured by a man called Arian of Nicomedia, who also compiled somewhat of the best of Epictetus, and they called it his handbook. And so now we come to Marcus Aurelius. I think a lot of you have heard that name in history. Marcus Aurelius may be the most widely known Stoic, and also a man who was heavily influenced by the teachings of Epictetus. Marcus Aurelius was the last of what is considered to be five good Roman emperors. He was groomed from a young age, with his brother Lucius Verus to be emperor of Rome. And although his brother didn't have much of an interest in governing well, Marcus's love of philosophy and understanding of Epictetus teachings led him to carrying out his duty as emperor in an effective and ethical way possible. This is all leading somewhere, you all, so stay with me. But as emperor, he had ultimate power. And because of this, we are able to see the true power of philosophy and of Stoicism. As emperor, he could have had absolutely anything he wanted. He could have clicked his fingers and summoned anything he liked, including the death of anyone he disliked. But he was a philosopher first and an emperor second. He was dedicated to living by correct principles. And we can see this in his personal diary, which we can read today called Meditations. This collection, he constantly he constantly had people trying to manipulate him, deceive him, and likely kill him. He was faced with every possible temptation. And yet, he made sure that the power he had never got to his head. And that in itself is an impossible task. And this is a great time to point out that all the Stoics who I've talked about lived lives of extremes. Zeno lost everything in his shipwreck. Seneca was very wealthy and influential, but also experienced periods of exile. Epictetus was a slave and experienced exile as well. Marcus Aurelius had power, ultimate power. And this is a true testament to the fact that Stoicism is a philosophy that was born in adversity and shaped in the ups and downs of life. It's a philosophy that can help us to be effective human beings at any time in our lives. Sometimes your life will suck, and sometimes your life will be amazing. But what Stoicism offers is a guide for how to deal with the highest highs and the lowest lows of life effectively. And this is why Stoicism offers this is but what Stoicism offers is a guide for how to deal with the highest highs and the lowest lows. Stoicism has been cited to have influenced people like Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, James Stockdale, John Steinbeck, J.K. Rowling, Nelson Mandela, who is reported to have taken inspiration from the Stoics during his time in jail. And so here we are in the 2000s, still being influenced by Stoicism in our society today, and still trying to get to the bottom of just how useful and effective this philosophy can be. And that's where you and I come in. It's really our job to test these ancient ideas and see how true they really are. It's our job to add to the philosophy and take the best ideas from it. Mm. I hope that I can play a role in bringing this incredible philosophy that has stood the test of time into the hearts of minds of so many people as possible. And I hope you'll join me. Let's test its ideas together, improve them, and share them. Stoicism. When my beloved Mama Royal, she is my head moderator. Peace and blessings, understanding, wisdom, and light to you, to my beautiful one. Um, when we talk about Stoicism, and he said that word, it rang bells. Something in my spirit said, go and look for that word. Because I do believe that this can help our people. And then I thought about all of the women that I've met recently. And I think a lot of you have been meeting each other and you've started forming bonds outside of the social media. That is what is the beautiful part, is that we may have what met on one platform, but we transition to other platforms. And now we call each other, we text each other with the grand risings as queens do, and with the have a wonderful sleep. Or with our brothers, we are with you, brother, we stand with you. It is a beautiful thing. Stoicism. Stoicism as you've heard from the stories I just told you about the philosophers, they did not have it all together, you see. They didn't. Zeno, he lost everything in his shipwreck, but he stayed behind to learn lessons. You see, he could have rebuilt, I'm sure. He could have rebuilt his fortune. He lost all of his purple dye in the shipwreck. I'm sure at that time it was probably worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But he stayed behind because he said, what am I to learn from all of these experiences? What am I to learn? I think he learned Stoicism. I think he learned that iron sharpens iron, that we have sisters and brothers that will sharpen us. I always talk about our sisters that when we see a crown of another sister falling, we don't what we need to do is we just need to help her adjust that crown and say, "Baby, it's tilting a little bit. Let me help you straighten that crown because you are royalty, you see." Like the person told Zeno, dye your body in purple when you die. Don't let it turn gray like other men, but dye it purple because you are royalty. You have learned the lessons now. I thought about my recent bout. Hold on one second, folks. I thought about my recent bout with my knee surgery. I thought about the two knee surgeries before that. I thought about when I had cancer 3 times, and they told me to go home and prepare your family, and you're not going to make it, and it's metastasized. And I think that's when I had to go back in time and I had to remember, was I ever stoic? Did I ever show the essence of stoicism? And then I remember getting back up and dusting myself off when I had lost all of my weight and when I had lost all of my hair, and I dusted myself off. I didn't know what it was called then. I just said I had to keep going no matter what. I remember people made fun of me. They said that I looked like Skeletor and all that. And that really hurt me. It really hurt me because I was actually going through something that I could not control. It was not something that I could control, it was something that I could not control. That hurt. But then I realized where that came from. It didn't come from a hurt place from that person. It actually came from a jealous place from that person. I think about my sisters that I've met over the last 2 weeks, how stoic they have become. Priscilla, Shanice, how stoic they have become, how some of them were scammed for hundreds of dollars, but they brushed themselves off. They got back up and they stood tall and they held their heads high and said, even though I went through the storm, I'm still here. You know the movie. Thank God I'm still here. My queens, I'm very, very honored. I'm very, very truly honored to have met all of you. You have taught me the true essence of stoicism, of being stoic, going through the storm. Some of us are still going through the storm. I know I am going through, but I'm coming out as pure gold. I think about just a month ago how I couldn't walk. I think about 2 months ago when I could barely walk and the pain. And I think Mama Royal, she knows because she checked on me every day, if not every day, every other day. And I know I said the same thing over and over for 30 days or more. It hurts. I'm tired. I want to whoop my surgeon's arse right now. But she would just listen and say, it's going to be all right. You going to make it, girl. What you talking about, girl? What you doing today, girl? I know she would try to get my mind off of the pain. Stoic. She has also been attacked virtually. She's a stoic woman, such as the woman that I'm showing right here. I salute all of my stoic brothers and sisters on the day. I don't need a large following. I've never come online publicly to garner a large following. That's not why I started what I did. I started what I did for my people. Whether I have one viewer, whether I have no viewers, do you know I will still be doing this? I will. Good morning, beautiful. I will still be doing what I'm doing. I may not be doing exposés for a month, but you will always find me in these streets because you all have encouraged me. You've polished me, you see. I was a little rough around the edges, Queens. I think even Let's Get Activated, she knows how green I was starting in the music industry. She polished me. She taught me about being professional, about how to carry yourself in the public. You see, when I first started, I was just a beast. I was a beast, man. But I learned. I learned my lessons. I learned humility. I learned to laugh. You know, the worst thing you can do to an enemy is laugh. What an enemy loves is to see you in tears so that they know that they have destroyed you. They love that. So, a lot of times when I wanted to cry, when I wanted to just erase all of my channels, my sisters, my queens, my earths, my goddesses, they said, "You're not going nowhere. So, buck it up, go take a walk, and come back because you know what you got to do out here." Ladies, everyone that you see right now, get to know each other. These women are simply divine, is the word that I have to use. Are they perfect? No, none of us. We all fall short of perfected beings, but at least they have the essence. That's all that matters, is if you have the essence of Stoicism. Those are the people that you want to surround yourself with. Am I coming back to music? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I know a lot of the artists have been asking that. I'm coming back. It is easier right now to sit and do lectures and things like that. Tonight, 6 p.m. Central Time, I will be interviewed on I Said It podcast. I Said It, Tobias, peace, baby. I Said It podcast. I will be interviewed by the King on his platform. It goes to Roku and everywhere else. And you all know me by now. You know what I do, but maybe he might pull a few things out of me that I've never spoken on before. So I will be dropping that link everywhere so that you can come on over. You can support the brother as well. All right. And I'm really, really looking forward to this. And a little beautiful story about this young king. I kept noticing people in my city on his page. And I said, what is going on? And then he showed my godmother and he did a tribute to my godmother. Her name is Helen Wooten. I said, how do you know my godmother? Helen Wooten, she just transitioned, but she was the vocal coach to The Brat and R. Kelly and so many others. This is a true story. But I didn't know all this as a young girl. I started learning later in life. And he said, she's the godmother. She's a godmother of R&B. Who doesn't know your godmother? It's just so amazing how small the world is, that you can know each other's family members and not even know it. And so I am so looking forward to being interviewed. And I'm usually the interviewer, I'm not usually the interviewee. So, you all, I ask that you send your positive vibrations towards me, your prayers, so that I can get through this and that I can also represent all of you in an excellent manner. So, until next time, peace, power, understanding, wisdom, light. I'll see you all tonight at 6 p.m. Central. I love you all, and you already know how we go out. Have a great evening, folks.